Kami mulai ya. Good evening, Madam and everyone. My name is Vallerie Peter, alongside with my group mates, Kien, Diana Ko, Eileen Ting, and Tan Suk Hui. We'll be presenting the topic formulation of linear programming. Next slide. Before we go to the example of question, let's look at this brief introduction about LP formulation. So LP is a method used to optimize resource allocation either by maximizing the profit or minimizing the cost. In order to formulate a linear programming model, first we need to understand the given problem. Then identify the objective, which is whether the problem wants to maximize the profit or minimize the cost. We also need to identify the constraints, which is the restriction. After that, we must define the decision variables, which is usually denoted as x and y. Lastly, we use the decision variables to write mathematical expression for objective function and the constraints. Now I welcome our next presenter to present the first question. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tan Suk Hui. Now, Diana and I will present problem 1, which is about the maximization model. I will present the question and Diana will present the solution. The question is as follows. A manufacturer produces 3 models 1, 2, and 3 of a certain product. He uses 2 types of raw materials A and B, of which 5,000 and 8,000 units respectively are available. Raw material of type A requires 3, 4, and 6 units of each model, whereas type B requires 6, 4, and 8 of model 1, 2, and 3 respectively. The labor type of each unit of model 1 is twice that of model 2, and 3 types of model 3. The entire labor force of the factory can produce equivalent of 3,000 units of model 1. A market survey indicates that the minimum demand of 3 models is 600, 400, and 350 units respectively. However, the ratios of number of units produced must be equal to 3 to 5. Assume that the profit per unit of models 1, 2, and 3 are 80 ruby, 50 ruby, and 120 ruby respectively. Formulate this problem as linear programming model to determine the number of units of each product which will maximize the profit. Next, the problem can be tabulated as given below so that the information can be seen clearly and easily.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Diana. Now I will share with you all the solution of the problem. To solve this problem, first we need to list down the decision variables. We let x be the number of unit of model 1, y be the number of unit of model 2, and z be the number of unit of model 3. Next, we need to find out what is the objective function of the problem. From the question, we can see that the keyword maximize the profit. This indicates that this is a maximization model and the profit per unit of model 1, 2, and 3 are 80, 50, and 120 respectively. Hence, the objective function is written as max z equal to tx 50y plus 120z, where capital Z represents the profit. Step 3, we need to list down the resource constraints. From the table just now, we can clearly see that raw material of type A require 3, 4, and 6 units of model with 5,000 units available. So the first constraint is 3x plus 4y plus 6z less than or equal to 5,000, while type B requires 6, 4, and 8 model of model 1, 2, and 3 respectively with 8,000 units available. Hence 6x plus 4y plus 8z less than or equal to 8,000. Next, from the table, we can see that the proportion of labor time is 1, 1 over 2, and 1 over 3 respectively, where the entire labor force of the factory can produce equivalent to 3,000 units of model 1 with the constraint written as x plus 1 over 2y plus 1 over 3z less than or equal to 3,000. From the question, we also see that the market survey indicates that the minimum demand of 3 models is 600, 400, and 350 units respectively. With the keyword minimum demand, we know that we need to use the symbol larger or equal to. So the constraint will be x larger or equal to 600, y larger or equal to 400 and z larger or equal to 350. Furthermore, the question did mention about the ratio of the number of units produced must be equal to 3 to 5. This gives rise to the constraint. We first let x over 3 equal to y over 2 in order to get 2x equal to 3y. Then y over 2 equal to z over 5 to get 5y equal to 2z. Last but not least, don't forget to write down the non-negative constraint, which is xyz larger or equal to 0. That's all from me and Suk Hui. We will pass it to Kien and Eileen. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kien. Now, Eileen and I will proceed to the formulation of linear programming model for minimization problem. This question is about a diet problem which can be formulated as a minimization model. The curator of the game part wants to make sure that the animal's basic nutritional requirements are satisfied with the minimum spending for their food. Mini lion's daily diet must provide at least 500 units of protein and 916 units of mineral fiber. They must be given at least 6 kilograms of the food daily to keep the mini lions from feeling hungry. We assume that the objective of minimizing the total cost of feeding the mini lions will keep the diet within the maximum allowable levels. The food that they will be given are ground bone meal and prime meat. A kilogram of bone meal provides 50 units of protein and 240 units of mineral fiber and costs $1 per kilogram. A kilogram of prime meat provides 250 units of protein and 80 units of mineral fiber and costs $2 per kilogram. The combined weight of the bone meal and prime meat must be at least 6 kilograms. Formulate this problem as a linear programming problem to determine the amount of food type required in the diet of the mini lions to minimize the cost of feeding the mini lions. So next, I would like to invite Eileen to present the solution to this problem along with necessary explanations.
So regarding the solutions of these minimization problems, it can be met through the tables of all the minimum requirements of the contents and cost of food types, which makes everything clear. First of all, from the tables, you can clearly see that we need a minimum 500 units of proteins, which comes from 50 units of bone and 250 units per kilograms of meat. And we also need a minimum 960 units of mineral fibers for 240 units per kilogram of bone and 80 units per kilograms of meat. Lastly, we will need a minimum 6 kilograms of weight from the combinations of bone and meat. From the information provided above, we would like to obtain the minimum cost from $1 per kilogram of bone and $2 per kilogram of meat. Next slide. Thank you. At the end, we will combine all the information from the tables in the last slides, where we will first define our decision variables, as we will let variable S be the number of units of bone and variables Y be the number of units of meat. Then we will need to obtain our objective function as minimum Z equal to S plus 2Y, for it means that a minimum cost from $1 per kilogram of bone and $2 per kilogram of meat, as we defined just now. Lastly, we will need to obtain several constraints with the resource constraint as 50s plus 250y greater than or equal to 500. Refer to the minimum protein required. 240s plus 80y greater than or equal to 960. Refer to the minimum mineral fiber required. And s plus y greater than or equal to 6. Refer to the minimum combined weight required. While the non-negative constraints s and y greater than or equal to 0 ensure the variables to be always in positive forms. And I will pass it to the next presenters.
To conclude, LP formulation may not be complicated. However, if we make any mistake when formulating either maximization or minimization model, then we may come up with the wrong conclusion when solving the LP model later. And that's it for our topic.
Okey, ada soalan dari pelajar lain?
Yes, saya ada soalan, Madam.
Okay.
My question is, what are the assumptions required
Jelas ke?
for formulating a linear program?
I'm sorry.
please repeat the question?
My question is, what are the assumptions required for formulating a linear programming problem?
Assumption, Vallerie.
Assumption. So there are a few requirements that need to be met before formulating the LP model. So the first one, there should be a clear, identifiable objective which is measurable in quantitative terms. Like I said before, the problem should be either maximizing the profit or minimizing the cost. And then the allocated resource in the problem should be identified and quantitatively measurable also. And the relationship representing the objective function and the constraint must be linear since this is a linear programming. Am I answering the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you Vallerie and Tim. Thank you Normala for the question. Okay, kita
Alright, thank you.
pergi balik ke kumpulan 9, kumpulan yang kedua tadi, ya. Aini.